In this video, I'm doing a review on the book How to Play the Opening in Backgammon by Bill Roberti. Thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoy this video. Please like and subscribe, and you'll be notified every time I upload a new video. Please let me know what you think in the comments below and what you'd like to see in future videos. If you've read this book or books, please let me know what you think. So this is one of the newer books. It's a 3-volume set, parts 1, 2, and 3, How to Play the Opening in Backgammon by Bill Roberti. And first of all, I have to say I've learned the most from Bill Roberti's books than anyone else. He's written books for many years and many different types of books. Some of them are older, some of them are newer. Some of the older ones are a little bit outdated, but they're still fantastic. And some of the newer ones are outstanding too. In particular, this 3-volume set. So since the computer technology has come about in the last 10 years or 20 years or so, one of the major foci for players is playing the opening, because you can roll it out, you can see what's the correct play and what's not. There have been a lot of books written about that, and most of them are outstanding. And this one is another outstanding book. Bill Roberti is one of the best players in the world. He's won multiple world championships, and he's written many, many books that, as I said, I've enjoyed and learned a lot. So this one talks about the opening in backgammon, and this is where you can get it. I'll put a link in the description below. I'll take this off for now so I can just discuss it. So this is a 3-volume set, and each book is about 150 pages, and each one has 5 chapters on 5 unique topics. And this is an outstanding book for anybody, because playing the opening is very important for everybody. The most common position in backgammon is the opening position, because it occurs in every single game. So it's important to know how to play the opening plays, the opening moves, the second roll, the third roll, the first few rolls, because that happens in every game. And when you learn these strategies and tactics, it teaches you the ideas that you need to understand, so you can play later positions better too. So this is the 3rd volume, was just recently released, and I finished it recently. So I was waiting until all 3 of them were completed to do this review. The first one is called How to Play Opening Backgammon Part 1, A New Way of Thinking. So this part I have it in front of me. It has 5 chapters. All of them have 5 chapters. The first chapter is the opening move. Of course, it's important to know how to play the opening moves. Chapter 2 is the reply to the opening move. A lot of people get many of these incorrect, and he goes through and explains to you exactly why and all the things you need to know. Chapter 3 is the 5-point. That's the most important point you want to make on your side of the board that you don't own at the beginning of the game. And chapter 4 is on the opposite side. It's on the 20-point, the opponent's 5-point, the most important point on the other side. And then chapter 5 is the 4-point. It's the next most valuable point on your side after the 5-point. So this is really good. That's the first one. The second part is Everything Matters. And for me, actually, I learned the most from those 2 words, everything matters, because he goes through and explains all the different things that you need to take into consideration when you're deciding on a play. You need to look at your side of the board, the opponent's side of the board, how many checkers are in the zone, what's the distribution of your checkers, if you have 1 man back versus 2 men back, or what your opponent has, are your back checkers split, all sorts of things. And he goes through in detail for all the different topics and all the different subcategories. What are the things you need to know? I think if you just remember everything matters, you'll learn a lot, because that'll teach you to just look at all the different features, all the positional features of each position when deciding on making a move. So there are also 5 chapters in this one. The first one, which is chapter 6, because there were 5 in the first part, is the 3-point or the 22-point. So it's comparing the 3-point with its counterpart, the 22 points, the 22 point on the other side. Chapter 7 is outfield points. So one of the common points you want to make is the bar point, or your opponent's bar point, the 18 point. But he also talks about other points, the 9, 10, 11 points, and so forth. Chapter 8 talks about hitting loose, and that's something that you do frequently. Hitting loose means hitting in your board and leaving a blot. And that occurs frequently in the opening of the game because each player starts with a 1-point board, so it's not too dangerous to hit and be hit back. And then chapter 9 is hitting in your inner board. And chapter 10 is the role of the low points. So that discusses hitting on the ace point, making the ace point, the 2-point, and so forth. So that is part 2. And then part 3 is the most recent one called Order from Chaos, and it came out recently. I got my copy a few weeks ago and recently finished it, and it has another 5 chapters. Chapter 11, which is the first chapter in this part, it's called Slotting and Stacking. So that's important because you start with 5 checkers on your 6-point, 5 checkers on your midpoint or 13 point, and it's very important to unstack those checkers. Sometimes you slot valuable points when you're doing that. For example, a 2-1 opening, you can bring one down from the midpoint and play 6 to 5, unstacking the 2 heavy points and slotting the most valuable point you want to make. Chapter 12 is splitting and building. So this is very nice because he talks about splitting or building depending on how many checkers the opponent has in the zone. So 8 checkers in the zone, 9 checkers in the zone, 10 checkers in the zone. And in general, the zone is defined as your side of the board. So the 1 through 11 points. However, it can vary slightly depending on the position. For example, if you've already made your 5-point, a checker on the 11th point is not bearing on any of the inner board points that you want to make. So some people don't consider that part of the zone once the 5-point has been made. But that's kind of splitting hairs. Anyway, he talks about this. He talks about some other splits. He calls the Middle Eastern split, where you bring 2 checkers up, and the McGreal split, named after Paul McGreal. The next chapter is outfield play. So talking about running to the outfield versus splitting or hitting a blot or do something else. There's one he calls the Kent Goulding play, named after Kent Goulding, which is similar to playing an opening 6-5 by playing 24 to 18 and bringing one down, unstacking the midpoint to the 8-point and redistributing the spares. Chapter 14 is 1 checker back and no checkers back. So whether you should play safe or aggressive. And chapter 15 is early cubes. So he discusses non-blitz positions because that's another subject, but a lot of other positions where there's an early cube. And some of this gets very technical. For me, that's very interesting. Basically, he talks about when you're making a play, look at how the next 36 possible rolls for your opponent play, or 21 unique permutations play. And based on that, you can think about what's going to happen in the next roll and the next 2 rolls, and that'll tell you what's the best play. So if you want to learn about how to play the opening in backgammon, Michihiro Kageyama Michi wrote an outstanding book called Opening Concepts. And then this is another outstanding book. This is very thorough. It's very dense. So it's going to take a while to read it. It's three volumes. You had to split it up into 3 volumes because there's so much material. I certainly learned a lot. I've studied the openings for a good deal, and even reading through this, it just helps reinforce certain things, or it makes me think about things in different ways so that I can play the openings better. And again, the opening is the most important part of the game for anyone to study because the opening position happens in every game. So this is the 3-volume set, How to Play the Opening in Backgammon by Bill Roberti. Part 1 is the blue one, A New Way of Thinking. Part 2 has a red cover, Everything Matters, and part 3 is Order from Chaos. They're all paperback. They're available from the Gammon Press. I'll put a link to the description. Each one is about 150 pages, and each one contains 5 chapters on unique topics. I highly recommend this book. Go ahead and take a look and start reading and learning. Thank you for joining me in this video. Please like and subscribe, and you'll be notified every time I upload a new video. Please let me know what you think in the comments below and what you'd like to see in future videos. If you've read the book, please let me know what you think. I look forward to seeing you in future videos. And until then, keep rolling your dice.